Welcome to the channel. Today I want to tell you about the movie Bird Box. Watch out for spoilers. The movie begins with the main character Mallory strictly explaining the rules to the children before they embark on a difficult journey. The most important thing is not to take the blindfolds off their eyes under any circumstances, or they will die. Mallory puts the birds in a box. They leave the house with the blindfolds on, holding on to the stretched ropes. Mallory launches the boat into the water and sets off down the river with the children. We are transported 5 years into the past. Mallory paints a picture while pregnant. Her sister Jessica comes over and tells her to turn on the TV. The news is talking about people around the world committing suicide en masse. Jessica notices a painting of Mallory that symbolizes alienation. Mallory isn't sure she can handle the baby. Jessica offers to take Mallory to the doctor for a checkup. At Dr. Latham's appointment, Mallory and Jess joke about alcohol during pregnancy. The doctor realizes that Mallory doubts her baby. Dr. Latham offers to let someone adopt her baby if she feels she is not ready for that responsibility. Mallory lingers in the bathroom and Jessica leaves to wait for her outside. Mallory walks down the hallway and sees a girl hitting the window with all her might. Mallory gets in the car and they drive off. Panic and chaos ensues. Then Jessica changes her face and stops responding to Mallory. She accelerates the car. Mallory tries to keep it on the road, but the car flips on its roof. Mallory sees Jessica get out on the road and gets hit by a truck. Mallory doesn't realize anything and walks with the crowd, but she is pushed and falls. A woman named Lydia runs out of the house to help Mallory. Before Lydia can help Mallory up, her consciousness begins to blur and she walks to the burning car and gets into it. A man named Tom helps Mallory up to take her to her house. They are also followed by a policeman named Lucy. The owner of the house, Greg, decides to let them into the house. Douglas blames Mallory for the death of his wife. Charlie, Felix, Cheryl, and husband and wife Jason and Samantha are also in the house. Everyone shares information with each other about this mysterious force that is causing the madness going on. Charlie assumes they are demons mentioned in all religions. The entity is invisible. If you look at it, it will drive you crazy and make you commit suicide. Jason and Samantha run off after their son. Tom goes to Mallory to comfort her. Mallory tells Tom what happened. In the present, Mallory and her children have been floating on the river for 6 hours. Mallory is trying to contact people on the radio when suddenly she picks up the presence of a creature that whispers her name. 3 days have passed since the chaos began. A survivor named Olympia knocks and begs to be let in. Douglas is against Tom opening the door, and Mallory grabs a gun and stands at the ready just in case. Olympia is cautiously let into the house. It is discovered that she, too, is pregnant. Next, Greg suggests watching what's going on outside, using the surveillance cameras placed on the front of the house. There is a risk of going demented through the screen. Greg is tied to a chair and leaves, and he begins to watch the cameras. Everyone in the house is doing something while Greg is watching. Then he sees something and the others hear a noise from the room. Upon opening the door, everyone watches as Greg topples over in his chair and smashes his head on the edge of the table to death. At night, Olympia is alone with Mallory and wonders what she would name her baby, but Mallory is disinclined to socialize and just wants to be left alone. Walking down the hall to the bathroom, Mallory hears some noise, but discovers that it is just Lucy and Felix making love. Mallory and Tom joke about the situation. In the present, Mallory and the children have already been floating down the river for 14 hours. Mallory hears a man's voice calling out that it is safe to remove the headband, but Mallory forbids the children to do so. The man claims that he has food and that he has seen the creature and there is no reason to be afraid of it. Mallory pulls out a gun and shoots blind, after which the man attacks her and tries to pull the blindfold off her eyes. Mallory fights him and kills him with a machete. The group runs out of food and they realize that no help is coming. Charlie says there is food in the supermarket, which he has locked up. Mallory, Tom, Douglas, Lucy and Charlie pack up to go to the supermarket. They paint over the car windows with paint and use the GPS to move blindly. They set off and feel like they are driving over dead bodies. Then the car begins to be surrounded by obstacles on all sides. A creature is heard whizzing over the car. Tom reaches the supermarket at a fast speed. After putting on their blindfolds, the group heads inside the supermarket. They then pick up as much food as they can carry. Mallory has a conversation with Tom about where they are from. Mallory sees the birds, which she decides to take with her as pets. Douglas gets drunk and says they will live in a supermarket, but Mallory disagrees with him. They hear a noise outside the freezer door. Charlie's coworker turns out to be there. He begs to be let out. When the group opens the door, he starts screaming about how beautiful the essence is, that it needs to be seen. Charlie looks into his colleague's eyes, sees the essence, and, realizing he is already doomed, rushes at him, running into the freezer. Charlie sacrifices himself, allowing the others to go home. At night, Mallory and Douglas have a brief conversation about personal matters and experiences. Suddenly, the characters hear the sound of a car engine. They run to the garage and discover that it was Lucy and Felix. We are brought back to the present again. Mallory and the children are already floating down the river for 24 hours. The boat collides with a sunken truck and Boy falls out of the boat, but Mallory pulls him out and tries to warm him up. The food and blanket are washed away by the current due to the impact. Mallory swims to shore and tells the children not to get out of the boat. By touch, Mallory stumbles upon a building in the woods. She enters the building and takes everything she needs. Mallory hears a noise and sees something pulling the bed by the rope. Mallory manages to get out of the building, but the entity pursues her, continuing to whisper her name. The girl hears gunshots and leaves the boat to help Mallory, but Mallory manages to intercept her at the boat itself. Mallory scolds the girl for disobedience, for there was an order not to get out of the boat under any circumstances. Tom tells Mallory about his service in Iraq, how he and his comrades followed a man walking his children to school in the midst of all the chaos going on around them, and every day he saw the children off with the man. Mallory puts Tom's hand on his belly. Mallory and Tom develop feelings for each other. Olympia, without consulting the company, lets a man named Gary into the house. The rest of the residents are on edge, scrutinizing and questioning Gary suspiciously. He tells the others that escaped mental hospital patients showed up for him and his friend, trying to force them both to look at the creatures. He says that on the outside, many do not wear the blindfold, willingly look at the creatures and are eager for others to see them in the same way. Douglas doesn't trust Gary and tries to lead him out of the house at gunpoint, but Cheryl knocks him out and lets the intruder stay, and Douglas is locked in the garage. Olympia tearfully apologizes for letting Gary in and says she feels a burden, but Mallory reassures and convinces her otherwise. Olympia then asks Mallory to take care of her baby in case something happens to her, and Mallory agrees. In return, she gives Olympia a toy for her baby. 38 hours have passed since the river trip began. Mallory and the children are planned for a meeting. She says they are approaching the rapids, which means the most dangerous part of the trip awaits them. One of the children will have to take off the navigation blindfold to keep Mallory on track. Mallory is left to decide who will do it. Meanwhile, in the past, everyone is relaxing listening to music. Then Olympia goes into labor. Mallory leaves, but she also goes into labor. While Tom and Cheryl help the girls, Gary pulls a bunch of creature drawings out of his suitcase and starts laying them out on the table. It becomes clear that he is one of the crazy people who has seen these entities and wants others to see them. Mallory gives birth to a boy. He then takes Mallory's birdcage and puts it in the refrigerator. Afterward, he tears the paper off the windows, and Douglas asks what he is up to. He tries to tell Tom, who is passing by, that Gary is crazy, but Gary gets to him as well, knocking him out with a blow to the back of the head. Gary also opens the garage door to try to get rid of Douglas. Meanwhile, Olympia gives birth to a baby girl. Gary enters the room and examines the babies, then goes to the windows and raises the blinds in front of Olympia. Mallory begs Olympia to give the baby up before the inevitable happens. Moments before jumping out the window, Olympia hands the baby over and then runs to the window. Gary forces Cheryl to look outside, opens her eyes and lets the evil in, and Cheryl kills herself with scissors. Douglas enters with a shotgun, but cannot shoot as he has to close his eyes. Nevertheless, he manages to hit Gary in the arm, but Gary falls with Douglas to the first floor, where he kills him with the knife. A waking Tom sees the shotgun and tries to grab it, with Gary reaching for it on the other side. Mallory hears 2 shots fired. The surviving Tom comes upstairs to her. 5 years later, Mallory and Tom are living together, raising 2 children. Mallory teaches the children how to listen, and Tom tries to find survivors by radio. Mallory searches the house for necessary items and hears cars. Mallory returns home and tells Tom that she has heard crazy people driving around in cars without blindfolds again. While the children are asleep, Mallory and Tom make love. At night, they receive a radio message from a man named Rick, who assures them that he is in a safe place with plenty of supplies and food. He instructs them on how to get to the survivor community. The fastest way is to raft down the river, but going there with the children is certain death, as the path is dangerous and they have to swim blindfolded. Tom thinks it is necessary to get into this complex, but Mallory fears that it may be a trap. In the evening, Tom tells the children a story, but Mallory tells them to go to bed without even listening to it. Mallory tells Tom that they don't need to be indoctrinated into life on the street, walking with the children, but Tom says they need dreams, for what is the point of living? The next day, Mallory, Tom, and the children come to an abandoned house. Mallory finds an old strawberry cookie and they all eat it together. Outside there is the noise of cars again. Crazy people have come to the house. Tom goes down to the people to apprehend them while Mallory leaves with the children. The survivors tell Tom to take the blindfold off. When they spot Mallory with the children, Tom opens fire, killing several. Tom removes the blindfold to kill others. The entity begins to affect Tom, but he fights back and manages to kill the last person and then kills himself. Mallory cries over the loss of Tom. The boat is rapidly approaching the rapids. Both children offer to remove the blindfold to guide Mallory, but she decides that no one will do that and they will try to pass blindly. Unfortunately, the risk and effort are not worth it. The boat capsizes. Mallory yells at the children and soon finds the boy, while the girl has climbed a little further and is waiting on land. Mallory finds her thanks to a bell she rings non-stop. They head out into the woods to the chirping of birds. The entity whispers to them and uses all her power to convince them to open their eyes and take a look. Mallory stumbles and falls down the slope. She wakes up, but the children are gone. Mallory shouts to the children not to listen to the entity. She finds the boy and yells to the girl that she is sorry for scolding and she loves them very much. They follow the voices of the birds and the entity chases them. They manage to make it to the shelter. The settlers check the eyes of Mallory and the children before taking them in. Next they meet Rick, and Mallory discovers that the refuge is a school for the blind, and the people in it are protected from the entities. Mallory and the children then discover Dr. Lapham, who cheerfully greets them. She asks what the children's names are, and Mallory is finally ready to give them names. The girl is named Olympia after her mother, and the boy is named Tom. Mallory says that they are her children and she is their mother. This is where the Bird Box movie ends. Pretty interesting concept of the end of the world. Thanks for watching and good luck, friends.